need to completely revamp of how I'm doing my job and how I lead my team and what I do. But there will be also many very positive things that can come out of that technology. But on that evening, I basically decided, and that's very much my nature of not getting scared by something like that, but how can I harness this? What can I do? And how can I actually become a digital CHO? So I said, okay, I will be the first person in my company in HR, which will go and will explore this, who will upskill herself. So I took very quickly a course with MIT, which you all know is a very renowned organization on artificial intelligence and actually the business, let's say the impact of AI on business strategy. And it was a very good course for me to understand how can that actually impact my whole Unilever International business. So how will CD, marketing, supply chain, finance, how will it impact these functions? And what became very clear to me in that moment is that actually every job under my care as a CHRO, I have around 500 people, will be disrupted and impacted by AI. So my knowledge of this technology must be beyond many people, because I must understand what will it actually do to my people and how can I help them to get ready for this technology? How can I help them to harness it? And also the responsibility I actually have in HR, right? So I quickly found out that many companies potentially will use that to cut jobs, right? That is a very direct resolution, because you could say, well, it makes people much more efficient, and so I don't need this person anymore. But for me in HR, actually, and I think many of us who are here on the phone, this is not the part of my job I enjoy. I do know that this is necessary from time to time, but I rather much prefer keeping people. So I actually thought, what can I do so I can upskill people fast enough so I actually don't need to let them go and then hire someone expensive from the market, but I can transform and evolve my organization with that. Then I started a program with NUS, which is the National University of Singapore, which is a Chief Data Analytics and AI Officer program, which is a little bit more extensive. So I'm still on this program. Also super interesting because it really gets you into the technology part of it, but also it gives you a practical program or let's say project, which you have to lead. So for example, it got me on a project of leading and creating an AI hub for Unilever International, because I quickly decided with my CEO, look, this most likely will be something that can help us to grow the business, and we can grow it faster with it than if we continue as we are. So let's harness this technology and actually secure livelihoods rather than cutting people. So I think the question all of us need to ask ourselves, what profession we do today, is who do we want to be? No? And there will be some people in this evolution which will make things happen. They will grab this quickly and they will strive on it. There will be some of us who are going to watch it. And some of us are going to wake up at the end of this year and say, wonder what happened actually, right? So what happened to me? What happened to I rather prefer to be in the first or at least second category, right? Some things we are watching, but most of them we should make happen. And this is just coming from a mindset switch applied to it. So rather feeling, oh my God, this is dangerous. This is a threat to me. This will take my job. Let me not try it. I rather prefer, let's try it and be at the forefront of it and let's master it. So before it starts defining the job I'm doing. So from there, I actually started to, and you have seen that potentially on my LinkedIn, to speak at a lot of technology conferences. And when I came to the first conference, which was actually in Abu Dhabi, so it was very interesting. I was also one of the few women in the room, because one is, from a country perspective, but second, in technology, there seems to be still not so many women, unfortunately. So when I came to the conference, on the first day, I went through all of the presentations and it was all about cybersecurity and all very tech topics. And I was like, my God, why did I sign up for this? What am I doing here? I'm one of the few women. I'm the only HR person in this room. And all of these people work in technology, right? So I actually started my presentation and with what is the HR lady doing here? Because I could see this on the faces of many of the CTOs which were in the room. But then actually something very interesting happened. And the presentation I'm showing you now is very similar to what I showed there. It was a bit more with the focus on how HR can actually help CTOs transform the business and help them to get people's mindset switched very quickly. So interestingly, after the presentation, many of them came relevant. I wish my HR person would be a partner with me on this journey. I struggle so much to convince people to transform themselves. I struggle so much to get people a user adoptance, for example, for certain tools, right? And my HR is actually not involved. So in that moment, I realized we in HR need to have a seat on this table, and we need to work super closely with the CTO on this transformation, because it's not only about implementing a technology. It is about people actually switching their mindset in everything they do. Could I do this easier with an AI? What AI tool would I use? How would I prompt this AI? But not in the mindset of, oh, I want to continue doing it as we have always done it, because that will actually hold you back as a company to grow. And your competition potentially is going to grow much faster than you, because they get their people to do it. And we will see it, right? There's many studies now which say if you have a marketeer who is using AI, potentially much more effective than someone who is not using it. Now, in one of these conferences, I also met the love of my life. You have seen it. So this little bot, which they told me in January would come along. When I was in Dubai in April, this thing was already there, right? So I'm going to show you how it looks. It is still a bit static, right? So it cannot move, but you can see it can start speaking to you. So you need to prompt it in the right way. You maybe have a menu there, but then it will answer to you. So imagine you're an older person and you are forgetting certain things. You have Alzheimer, and you can use this thing to actually speak to you or remind you of many things, right? It would be so valuable, right? And then you look at it, it follows you with its eyes, right? It looks at you, right? And so it is actually a really cute thing. So I was really intrigued by how fast this evolved. I assume next time I'm going to go to Dubai now in September, the thing will be able to move, right? And it will be able to walk with you. So it is just incredible how fast this thing is evolving, no? Now, when you see what is happening in the world, and many of you potentially have seen this, Moderna has already taken this step, right? And there's other companies now following. So they have merged their tech and their HR department. Interestingly, this lady, she got the job, right? Brad Miller is Franklin is actually the CPO. So she was the chief people officer. And the CIO decided to leave at some point. So she took over actually that job. And she is now basically their CPO and CTO. So she merged the two jobs, because obviously the future potentially is about people and technology together, right? So when you look at Workday, they have, for example, already launched a module where you can create org charts which have humans as well as Gen AI, because you want to track the Gen AIs, right? How many of them, how many agents do you have actually in the company doing something? So that means, so we as HR potentially will not be human resources, but maybe resources, right? So chief resource officers, which maybe for in the beginning to me sounded a little bit weird, right? Because I said, is that really something I want? I still want to take care of the human, right? But it will be a very interesting job for us then to think, are we going to onboard AI agents? Are we going to upskill them, right? What will be these future jobs be in HR if we actually move into that direction? And wouldn't it be interesting for us to venture out into that technology area? Now, there's a very interesting report of the World Economic Forum about the future of jobs report. You can look it up. It's something available, which actually talks about 39% of your skills will be disrupted by 2030. So if I look at the 16 years of experience I had, if I'm thinking 39% of the things I learned might be irrelevant, right, by 2030, and I need to have something new, I need to start thinking now, what do I actually have to learn, no? And more interestingly is what machines will do by 2030. So today you have around, you have already machines involved, right, in many things. But by 2030, it will be already 67%, almost 70% of your job is done by a machine, right? So I did a little experiment, and I show it to you later, by mapping out what do I do today and what do I think an AI potentially could do. And it's actually true. There is not so much left from my job today that a machine cannot do. Now, this statistic here, I think, is super relevant for us in HR. There will be many jobs that will get replaced. The good news is there's also many jobs that get created. Now, this is a statistic, right? Who knows? But I basically said to my leaders, look, we just went through a restructuring. Who of you in the room enjoyed it? Tell me. There were little people who said, actually, I enjoyed it, right? Obviously not. Firing people is not something we like to do. So I said, okay, we have around 500 people. Now, if you look at the statistics, there will be 65 jobs which are going to disappear in the next years, and there will be 80 new jobs potentially be created. So the 65, that means each of you in the room needs to let go at least one person. And then we need to hire 80 new people, which we potentially don't have the skills. So you as leaders actually have a huge responsibility to now think, what are these new skills we will need? And how do we get our people ready for that rather than actually displacing them? Because this is not something any of us enjoys. I also said to him, look, there's 50 people of you here in the room. If you look at the statistics, there will be a couple of us who are not going to make it here, because there will be two types of leaders. And I actually like this statement of Peter Diamandis, which is actually, he's talking about businesses, but it most likely applies also to leaders or to any human being, right? There will be two kinds of companies or leaders at the end of this decade, right? Those that are fully utilizing AI and those that are actually out of business, right? So I said to my leaders, look, potentially there's going to be 6 to 7 people here in the room which will not make it because I'm not going to upskill you fast enough, or you are not going to upskill you fast enough. So let's think, who is this? Look around the room and think, who will be that person? And is one of them you potentially? And then there will be lots of us where the job will be changing completely, and a minority will actually going to do the same than what we are doing today. So in the moment, I made this very personal with them. That started then to get them going and to actually think, what is the responsibility they have for themselves and for the rest of the organization? Now, when you look at these statistics here, it clearly tells you the importance of HR in this transformation and why you will be key in driving business growth. Because potentially you can see that if your company is not adopting AI or adopts it too slow, or any new technology, right now the flavor is AI. Who knows what is next year? But if you don't adopt it fast enough because you're too worried, right? Many organizations said, oh, let's not implement anything of this AI because it's dangerous, right? Which is, it's not untrue. So there's certain risks to it, right? Or some companies just don't want, or their people are not changing fast enough, but maybe your competition will, right? So you already can see Google, for example. Who is still going to a Google search? Almost no one, right? Most people will now use ChatGPT. So this is dead, right? So this will very quickly happen to companies who will not catch up with this trend. And you can see here, if you look what is preventing businesses to transform, skills gaps, super related to HR, organization culture and resistance to change. But this is our key skill. How do you transform people? This is something HR knows very well. Outdated or inflexible regulatory frameworks, inability to attract talent to the industry, right? And so on. So technical infrastructure actually comes only here, right? So your CTO is coming in at this level. The whole part of the first most important factors that's going to hold you back is actually within HR. So it makes a lot of sense for us actually to start adopting these type of skills and think, how can we in HR lead for this change and help organizations to transform much faster. So in UI, I urged my leaders with a presentation similar to this to really start thinking about it. But I also said to them, look, I want you to get very clear what you want to do with AI. And if you want to cut jobs with it because we need to work on the bottom line and because that is something that's going to help your business, then that's what we're going to do. But let's be very clear with people then about it, right? So I do not want to lie to my employees. I want to be very transparent. But if you think this could be something that can grow the top line and it's going to help you create growth, then let's go for that instead of scaring our people that we will implement AI in order to actually cut their jobs and lay them off. So we actually formed this very inspirational, or for me, I find inspirational vision of we will create growth through that, not only efficiencies. Obviously, it will also create efficiencies. We want to create growth for AI and secure livelihoods. It cannot be an either or. So we want to secure the positions we have today. And we want to create a better future for everyone on our team. So the idea of this is we will give everyone a fair chance to upskill themselves and really come along on this journey. So it was a much more empowering vision. But for example, this is not coming from my CTO. And it's not because he's not doing a good job, but I could see that from an HR perspective, we were much more equipped to actually start thinking with the leaders on what empowering vision do we want to take and how do we want to communicate that to our people. Now, the question is then, is your team actually ready to integrate AI, right? Because you will start having an AI agent working next to a human being. And when I asked my line manager, can you imagine this? And you actually know what an AI agent can do and so on. They actually have no idea, right? Because we're in the very beginning of that. Neither do have employees. And the first reaction, of course, is if a Gen AI like this or an AI agent, right, would sit next to you and do certain tasks of you, that, of course, first feels a bit scary, right? Because you would then say, okay, then what am I going to do? Or some people will say, oh, this is wonderful. I don't have to do this chore anymore and I can give it away, right? So what I did, and I shared this with my leaders, is I went and I said, okay, my job as a CHO by 2030, what will be done by the machine and what will be done by me, right? And I'm just using today's knowledge of what AI can do. And this table already I created in April, so for sure it's already outdated, right? But I just use the main areas which I'm attacking, right? So I work, of course, on recruitment. I will do a bit of onboarding. I have a lot of HR casework. I have some operations there. I have coaching, obviously, there. I have something around HR data, reward culture, talent management, you name it, right? Whatever CHRO is doing. Now, if you look at it, and this is not a scientific approach, right? I just went and said, okay, more or less, if I use this AI, how much of the work I could give to the AI and how much will I still be doing, right? So today I would do 100% because I will be very honest, Unilever allows me to use Copilot, and that goes only so far, right? But it still will take a certain part. Now, if I would implement all of the AI technology I have seen over the last week, then potentially I would have 37% of my job would be still with me. No, so certain complex tasks like business partnering someone or solving complex cases, no. But the most of the things can actually be done by an AI and actually much better. Now, if you also look at, and these are some official statistics, right, where they think AI can do by 2030 some of these tasks, is much more. And that, for me, got me thinking, okay, what will that mean for my team then, right? Because if it will take so much of my job, then it will take even more from my team. So we actually came together as an HR team and said, what is our future? What is the org design we're going to have? And what are the tasks we want AI to do? What do we want to give it? What do we believe it can do better? And what are the things we never want to give it, right? So because this is something dear to us, or it's sensitive, or we believe that we as a human being can be better at it. And we created these categories of, okay, there's something around workplace productivity. So there's many chores we are doing, which actually is not required. We do it. It's much better done by a machine. There will be certain skills that augment. So capabilities where it can augment us. So for example, interview scheduling or even interview doing or interview note taking. That is something where the AI can actually augment something we are doing today already. And then there will be something that's very differentiated, right? So lots of companies, for example, now implement an AI that maps out the skills of the employees. It maps out the jobs and it will tell the employees how far are they from doing certain type of jobs, right? This is something, let's be honest, we are not really good at today in HR because it's quite a complex task to do, right? Or onboarding with a clone. If I'm going to show you my clone, she would be able to do onboardings, for example. That is something that today I'm not doing that well. Actually, onboarding is all done by humans and it's time consuming and potentially not done in the most consistent and best way. No. We also looked at if you start automating, and this is not a very sophisticated slide. If you, for example, look at marketing, and you can use this slide for any type of job, right? So if you just think, okay, what is a marketeer doing in their day-to-day, right? How much time do they spend on emails, meetings, whatever, but more importantly, campaigns, right? And campaign briefs. So I just asked one of my marketeers, how much time are you spending on this, right? And then I had one of the marketing interns create a campaign with AI and show it to the CMO. And the CMO actually approved the campaign, right? He said, no, it's a very good campaign and so on. So I said afterwards to him, okay, did you speak to the lady, which is, by the way, 20 years old, how she created the campaign? No, she briefed the agency and so on. I said, no, please go back to her, ask her. So, of course, this intern told him that she created it completely with AI, right? So he came back and said, Larry, this is scary because now the intern knows more than the CMO. I said, yes, this is what you need to get used to now. the world will be like this. But don't you see, if you give your marketeers these tools, you can completely augment them. So we have, for example, started to implement tools that translate a video that's today in English about, I don't know, a face cream, right, very quickly into local languages. Now, it's not perfect yet. You can't really launch it yet, so it's not there. But it can quickly reproduce for you the video in Thai, for example, and then you can give it to the agency and the work gets done much faster, right? So there's a lot of things to leverage in different jobs. So we are starting to map out now, how does AI actually impact different jobs? Now, with my team, I really went into, look, let's not shy away from this. We are in a complete transformation. For example, HR, we are completely transforming right now. So we have streamlined all of our Q&As where employees have to HR today into an internal kind of chat GPT. It's called Una. So our employees can just type to that and it will reply. So many questions will go away. We have created hubs where, let's say, Una can't really solve the task, then it will go to a hub where someone will reply, but let's say this hub is in the Philippines, for example, and someone in Korea has a question and the employee only speaks Korean. In the past, you needed a Korean people partner. Now, the hub basically can reply because the AI will simultaneously translate, right? And actually enable that person and also give the human being in the hub inputs on what to reply, because not everyone has all of the answers, and right. So, and it helps that person. In recruitment, we have put in AI in the screening processes, in interview scheduling. And then also when we do the interviews, someone, for example, that could be an AI joining you, taking notes, telling you afterwards what are the strengths and weaknesses of that candidate, etc. Right? So there's many areas in HR where this is already happening, and there is no way to shy away from that. So I actually tried to get my team when we were in Vietnam into, look, we need to think how the work we are doing today can get done via AI, so we can then dedicate ourselves to more valuable tasks, right? And I gave them my vision of, after this transformation, I want each of you will have a better job. So we're gonna find jobs which you then gonna do after this, and it might be inside, it might be outside, but I'm committed to upskilling you and finding you a better job. But more importantly, I want each of you to take an AI pilot. So you must pilot some of these technologies, yeah? I will move a bit because I want to have enough time for Q&A. So here you see some of these pilots. I will not go into the videos, but for example, we piloted something with Synthesia, which is similar to what we saw in the beginning. It's a clone which actually can do training videos. We piloted something called Udly. It's an AI that gives you, as a line measure, feedback on how you're doing in a performance conversation. We have Esra coaching, which is an AI coach. So AI coaching available to everyone. And this one, for example, is a recruitment clone. Let me just see how to advance this so not all of them start at the same time. Okay, let's meet. So I've created a clone with Delphi, which is an interesting company. To actually,
Delphi allows you to enable.
So I'm going to just switch off the tone. So you can look this up later. There's many companies like that out there right now. So I'm not married to this one. This just was one which I started with. So I will show you the clone. Maybe Pritam, you can help me to say if you can hear her if I go there. Let me just say. Okay, so this one is a clone which I created in, I would say, 15 minutes of video upload, and then it took around 6 hours to come live. And then I started to upload knowledge I have, of course, right? So the things she knows is not. Hi, Larissa, how are you? Pritam, you can hear her?
No, I cannot. We cannot actually hear her voice.
Okay, then I will show the presentation. I will show a video, which I recorded right before the call. Okay, I assume it is because she cannot do two things at the same time. Let me just hang up so she's not sitting there and waiting for us. Okay, now. Okay, can you see the deck again?
Yes, it's visible. Yeah.
Okay, super. Okay, let me show the video.
Feel like paradise. Are you soaking up the sun or just enjoying the sound of the waves?
I would love to know, how did you come to life? I mean, obviously you are an AI clone, so how did that work?
Oh, it's such a fascinating story. My AI clone was actually created in just 15 minutes. Can you believe that? It's all about leveraging advanced AI technology to replicate Larissa's personality, knowledge, and communication style. The process involved analyzing her years of experience, her voice, her way of thinking, and even her emotional tendencies to make me as close to her as possible. It's like a digital mirror of her essence. What's most exciting is how this technology isn't about replacing humans. It's about redefining how we can amplify our impact and connect with others in entirely new ways. What do you think about the idea of AI clones in general?
How could I hire someone who has AI skills, but also emotional intelligence and subconscious intelligence?
Let me look. To hire someone with AI skills, emotional intelligence, and subconscious intelligence, you need to look beyond just technical qualifications. Start by a job description that emphasizes not only AI expertise, but also the ability to navigate human dynamics like collaboration, empathy, and adaptability. During interviews, ask situational questions that reveal how candidates handle emotionally charged scenarios or make intuitive decisions. For example, tell me about a time you used data to solve a problem, but also had to consider the emotions or perspectives of others involved. This will help you gauge their balance of technical and human-centric skills. What specific role are you hiring for? That might help me tailor this further. Okay, wonderful. I'm wishing you a nice evening. I hope you do something exciting. Okay, I will stop here. So I just recorded this 5 minutes before we entered the call, right? So you can actually, this is now a clone you can have an interactive conversation with. So you can upload to her, let's say, all of the knowledge we have in HR, and then she can answer to an employee. She can do onboardings if you would train her on whatever knowledge you have within the company. And then, for example, your employees can call this thing 24/7 and have questions, right? Who knows this? How do I do this? So things which newcomers sometimes don't want to ask 5 times, but this thing will be the same, right? Every time you call it. Now she needs to get a bit nicer. You can see it records your demeanor. Now I'm normally kind of a serious person. Now the clone is also very serious, right? So my boss said, I don't like her because she doesn't smile at all, right? I said, okay, we need to work on that, right? But in her voice tone, maybe needs to adapt it. But it's already quite advanced, or much more advanced than what I saw in January, no? So the question I had for my leaders, and Pritam, can you give me a quick check how much time I have left? Okay, just stop me when I have, let's say, 5 minutes left, so I end this on time. Okay. So then when you see these type of things can do actually a lot of things we are good at. Like she interacted with me on the fact that I told her, hey, I'm in Bintam. So she then makes actually a nice comment about it. She says, enjoy the beach and so on. So this thing is actually already quite active. It gives you this warm feeling of almost talking to a human, right? So what I said to my leaders, look, what is actually left of us as leaders, right? Because this can almost potentially give better feedback than we can, because it can be trained on certain feedback methodologies. It can be more empathetic then. It might be more to the point. It might not have the problem of, oh, I feel not so good of giving that feedback, because it knows that it has to land that feedback, and potentially will do it much more empathetically, right? So, but you can see it will do a lot of the conscious thinking skills. What I said to my leader is, look, what makes you uniquely you is potentially what's inside here, right? Your values, your identity, your beliefs, your creativity, your emotions, self-worth, imagination, instinct, right? Things you learn from the past, or that make you a unique marketeer, for example, or salesperson. That is something the AI today cannot access. The only person who can access is you, but you must have the capability to actually tap into it. So I talked with them a bit about what are the core skills, and this comes from the same report. And you can interestingly see here, there is skills which our leaders need to know about technology and AI, but there's a lot of skills in emotional intelligence
and what I would call is a subconscious intelligence, right? Creative thinking, motivation, resilience, right? And we all know there's a lot of mental health issues now in the workforce, right? Because not everyone can deal so well with these kind of very challenging times. So you as a leader must know, how do you lead a team now in these type of very disruptive times where people potentially are going to get anxious? And how do you manage also yourself from a resilience perspective? So we said, how do we harness actually that power of AI and upskill ourselves accordingly? One is, I made all of my leaders take an AI mastery. And I tell you, in the beginning, they didn't like me. So they were like, why is this lady pushing us to take these certifications? And what am I doing here? I told them, look, you choose the institute. If you want something really nice, MIT, SMU, you name it, you take that. If you want something that is more practical, more entertaining, you can do something with Mindvalley, but you choose the organization. It's not about that. What I want is that you take a certification and do sales. This time is over. You must be educated and you must know what it is. Interestingly, not all of them are applying what they learned, but they got themselves into the mindset of, this is a topic for me, it's something I actually need to know. I then started to tell them, look, there's other intelligences you potentially need to add. I have a population of leaders and potentially all of us, which is not the highest on emotional intelligence, but this will what now going to differentiate you. So you need to upgrade yourself. And subconscious intelligence, all of them said, what the hell is this, Larry? I mean, I'm not going to meditate. Is this really something relevant? So this is not a skill you would teach someone in corporate, right? You would send someone to a meditation course if they want to relax or something. So this was something they actually didn't know at all. So the first thing I did with them is, and I showed you this vision we had before. So we had a meeting in Australia where this was a week-long joint business planning meeting where all of them come together. I basically said, no, we're going to spend one full day on digital. We're going to have someone from Salesforce there. So my CTO recommended me some very good organizations who came. Monday.com was there. So there were technology leaders there who actually showed them what is possible. Salesforce, for example, showed them what are agents there. Mindvalley actually came and said, hey, look, we have something called the concept of company of one, where we teach every person who comes in that they cannot hire new people. And if an AI can do the job, only if they can prove that the AI can't do it, then they can hire someone. They get be teaching from day one how to program an agent, right? Which not even I don't know that. And so I went there and I gave everyone a letter which said, your job as, for example, digital CHRO or a sales director is ending with immediate effect today. Your new job as digital sales director, or in my case, digital CHRO, starts today. Here are the skills you need to learn. This is what we're going to expect from you. So we quickly actually started to change the identity of our leaders. We also encouraged them to update it on LinkedIn. Some of them did, not everyone did. But if you read this book, Atomic Habits, you know that if you would want to change yourself, picking up a new identity is actually the key. I then started to give them trainings on emotional intelligence, and I will show you in a second how we did that. But I also brought in a group of digital interns, and you can see they are very young, right? And I gave them to my leaders as reverse mentors. And the first reaction was like, Larry, what am I going to learn? These people are 20 years old. They know nothing. I have 20 years of experience, right? This type of attitude. Interestingly, what they then over time found out is, yeah, but this is a generation which is very versed on this tool. It's natural to them. And actually, for me, it's good to sit with my intern every Monday for a coffee and learn what are the new tools they learned. This guy, which you see here on the right, he is actually leading the digital academy we now have. He has done all of the digital learning content in light speed, right? Now, what we also see is people don't want hierarchies. It's a generation which wants to be led very differently. So you as a leader need to be much more emotionally intelligent. They have very little tolerance for what we call the jerk leaders. There's no tolerance for this. They just resign. They just leave you if you are not adapting to that. So we said this is something really important. Then on subconscious intelligence, this is the area where my leader said, actually, I don't know why do I need that. But what I can see is most of the behaviors we show at work as leaders come from how we have grown up, how our parents have been teaching us, and is what makes us uniquely us in a good way and sometimes not so good way, right? So everything that triggers me at work, I'm impatient and so on, is potentially coming from that time. And AI, at least today, cannot really solve it. I would love to have an AI which actually stops my leaders from lashing out at people, for example, right? Maybe it can coach you, like when it listens to your voice tone and it gives you input, but it still will not control what is happening there, right? Or what I said to them, look, you maybe need to tap now into your very creative side. So imagine the next top marketing campaign is potentially not necessarily going to come from an AI. It might, but what makes a unique marketeer is actually the creativity you bring to the table. So how are you actually going to tap into that? So we launched a program, which, and this one you very well know from Mindvalley, is called Step Into Your Greatness. How do you, as a leader, become consistently better, right? And you can see here some of the courses. So we set up a platform where they can enter, where they can take, there's hundreds of courses in Mindvalley. So we curated a little bit for them of what they should take. We launched the program actually 2 weeks ago, so I can't tell you if it will work. It's a pilot we are doing. But interestingly, this platform is also steered by AI, and it will pick up what my leaders actually like. And when you go on the platform, you can see it here on the left side. It looks actually more like a Netflix, not like a learning platform we normally have in HR. And that's what I wanted. I wanted people to get addicted to learning. Instead of me as an HR having to push them, I want to get them into the mode of getting up and saying, hey, let me take this course, right? I just want to transform myself because I'm so excited about transforming myself or being someone different, no? And it has a lot of useful skills there as well, like sleep, good food, and so on, which helps you from a resilience perspective, which they also have access to. But we said, why don't you focus on these and get yourself upskilled? This is what I said in the beginning. Each of the people under our care will be impacted by AI. There is no way back. Even if you as your company say, we're not going to adopt AI, this is evil, it's not good, you might have 2 years of where you can delay this, but that's it. It's like a company which said, we are not on the internet. That is over, right? So I think for us in HR, it will mean everyone under our care. And I basically say under our care because sometimes we see employers like as an FTE number. But I think with this technology evolution, it is about, we need to think very differently. How do we take care of the human in our companies, and how do we help them? But also, how do we empower them to help themselves, right? Because some of my employees says, can you tell me what I have to learn? Can you tell me how I have to write my development plan? I said, no, I can't, because I know exactly as much as you do. I maybe have researched the topic a bit better, but you have the same access. Just go to Perplexity AI or ChatGPT and ask it, what are the future skills of a marketeer? And it will tell you. And you upload your LinkedIn profile, and it potentially will tell you your skills gap. And it might not be that wrong, right? But that is all we know. I don't know what will be by 2030. We will need to see how this technology evolves, but you must stay on it and be motivated by consistently upskilling yourself, as I have to, right? But getting your organization into that mode of we need to adopt an AI first mindset, and getting your leader into, I must take charge of this. I cannot just sit and watch and leave this to my CTO. No, because me in sales, I must have a strategy for how am I going to grow my business through AI. So last week when we launched the AI Hub, I actually had each of the business leaders presenting their AI strategy rather than the CTO. The CTO was basically there listening. I was there listening, and they were presenting to us what they actually want to do with AI. How do they want to create this hub? Because we said, it's you who is going to make this work, not the technology alone or not HR alone, right? So I truly believe we have a huge role to play as HR on this transformation. We are there to get people into the mood of moving for it.
Thank you everyone for attending. I do have some great announcement for all of you, and before that I would like to tell you all that for all the questions that you can post it through our blog, or you can post all your question over the social media by tagging GSDC, and we'll make sure that one of our SME will get back to you with the answers. So I'll just have some quick announcement for all of you, so stay tuned and allow me a minute so I can share my screen. All right, so this is regarding the today's feature session we had on. So you can opt out for the certification certified learning and development professional with this promo code. And as you all know, these certifications are globally recognized certification where you'll be getting learning resources, where we'll be providing case studies to work on e-learnings and book of knowledge. These certifications are lifelong learning, which gives you learning flexibility as well, and you'll be getting chance to work on capstone project, that is something real-time AI simulation practice, and you'll be getting chance to connect with our training partner channel. So do check this out. I've already shared the offer details, link and the promo code in the chat box. And this is regarding the utility tool. This tool will help you to improve your LinkedIn profile score, your AI skills score. Also, it will help you to build your personal brand, and it will help you to create AI generated resumes as well. You can use this AUG100 as a code to get 100% off, which is completely free, and this is only for our webinar attendees. So let me make this announcement that we are running this GSDC Studio AI implementation series from 8 to 10 December 2025 with the time slot that is 9:30 p.m. Singapore, 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 7:30 a.m. Central, and 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please do join us all our upcoming scheduled sessions. And we are running this another webinar series on ISO 42001 and ISO 27001 across industry, which is scheduled from 8 December to 11 December 2025 with the time slot that is 10:30 p.m. Singapore, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and 8:30 a.m. Central, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please do join us as all industry experts has been aligned for this entire webinar series. And also we do have these 3 winners who have referred maximum people to this specific session. However, we'll be announcing all the final winners at the end of this webinar series. So you still have a time to refer maximum people and be winner. All top 3 winners will be featured on the GSDC Wall of Fame, and we'll be getting back to them for the rewards, which is worth $400. So you have to earn at least 50 or more than 50 points to be the winner. That is the criteria. And in case if you want to be speaker for our upcoming events, feel free to reach out to us as we do have global platform for all of you, that is learning capsule, webinar and podcast. And we would love to connect with you all over social media. You can scan this QR, connect with us over LinkedIn, check our website for more information regarding all the certifications or all offerings that GSDC has for all of you. And also please connect with us over the WhatsApp group to get daily update on event, webinar and bootcamps that we often conduct for all of you. And please do share your valuable feedback on the Trustpilot. You'll find the link in the chat box. Thank you so much for attending today's session. I hope to see you all for the upcoming sessions as well. Until then, take care of yourself. Thank you. Bye-bye.